everybody. It is Tuesday, and after a really sunny weekend here near Toronto, Ontario, Canada, I have woken to a very gray day, and I am certainly somebody who responds a little bit to the weather. So, as promised, I'm here a little early because it's just super yucky outside, and I went for a walk and it was gray and boring. So I figured I'd get in front of my lights and uh, talk to a few people and yammer and see what's going on. And if the stream changes, I'm going to check on my quote unquote on my kids this morning. I like to do that on Tuesdays. And if I've got adults hanging around and no kids, then switch the stream to something else and we can discuss the topics as we go. For those who have popped in new just to see who the heck this is, my name is Maria and I am Little MissDiagnosed. And I do news and views from the perspective of somebody with a invisible disability and what the world looks like for a massive chronic genetic disorder that doesn't look like anything. And therefore, I am the person that had all of the people's assumptions about people drawn to me. That was my childhood. That was my young adulthood. It is still the world I live in. And so my goal is for people to notice those things. I also take on the scams and work and money losing and making that people with chronic differences, whether it's neurodiversity, whether it's able diversity, whether it is whatever's different. And on my channel, the goal is to talk about those who are the youngest, the smallest, and the most vulnerable. We start there. And I am a believer that you can argue me about any topic. My thing is trying to get a focus here. Sorry about that. So as you all go, let's see if it centers up under that. I've had lovely debates with people over whether or not beeg mode, I'm going to unbeeg it so that it stops banging into things. I've had lovely arguments where people show how much they're just regurgitating the thoughts of others. That if you do not agree that we take care of the youngest, the smallest, and the most vulnerable first, and that's the goal underlying of humanity, regardless of your background, your thoughts, well then, show it out. Don't argue, just stay loud and proud and say that you don't support that you have a different ethical modality, and don't put it underneath the ethical modality that I don't have an ethical box to stand upon, or that you've got a better way of thinking about it for some reason that you can get to that logic. We're not going to do, you can have your own opinion, but you can't have your own facts. And we do not simply regurgitate the facts of other things here. That is one of the things that leads to bullying. And this is one of my safer streams until where if I know that people, that my kids aren't showing up, I have some teens and stuff that hang out with me. If they're not showing up, then we can talk more stuff and I'll pop on and off and switch it too. But I like to run a safer stream. A safer stream is for younger people, but it is also for those who would like a little bit of calm. They would like to debate, but they don't want the name calling. They would like to discuss, and it's not a time on their radio or while they're not listening on earphones because they're taking care of their kids to school, that they would like to hear less concerning words and things like that. I love language. I love all of those things that I just said I don't do, but a safer stream is to have a little more calm and a little more quiet. So we got a few people popping in and out as we go, and that's okay because people like to see what the heck's come up. And if you're here to, I always say, if you're here to hit on me, Cool. You can either practice. I'm taken, but if you want to practice, at least if you're a nice guy or a nice person who's trying to figure it out, then hey, you can learn how to compliment people without being a creep show. And if you're a creep show, well, then at least I've brought you here and you're not bugging someone else on the internet right now. So, like, come on out. Let's practice the creepiness or let's practice the kindness. And this morning, I may, if it's quiet here, I may pop over and do some anti-MLM topics because that has just gone live as well. Politics and business and work are all pertinent here. I try to bring in all of the thought processes of what's going on. So, shalom, sayonara, greetings, USA. If you're saying greetings from, good morning, Jason. I don't know if you're saying greetings from the USA. If you are, that's awesome. I am Canadian, as the ad goes. I am a very well-informed family and friend to the Americans. And if you're welcome from anywhere. I actually love the international flavor. And I do love to comment on American politics and parenting and the way that it's evolved, the history of it, and what it has to do with our opinions of other people and our values of those with disabilities and other things. I'm you can debate all you want. Go ahead. I love debate. Have at it. I do think that everybody who's taken away DEI and thinks that's good because they think it's just what was so-called positive employment or basically giving jobs away instead of looking at the merits of people. That's not actually what it is. It's literally diversity, equity, and inclusion. It actually doesn't mean that anybody doesn't get hired. It's looking at that people weren't hired. So it isn't the things that people fear it is and simplify it. It's literally that, we shouldn't be mean to people. It's literally an anti-bullying campaign for the workplace. And if you think bullying is welcome in the workplace, then, or at school or wherever you are, then go ahead and say it. Don't hide behind other argumentations. Just come on out and tell me you're a bully right away so that you can be a strong, as I joke, God-fearing, gun-toting American if you are, because I've been those things. I've actually been those things before. And don't you think that I can't be a pacifist and left-wing crazy person too? You can be both. Or they can circle around together and we can actually realize that the values that we're working on right now about bullying in the world and war, because war is just another kind of bullying all the way up. Most of it's not justified, right? And what's scary really now in the world for kids and for younger people is the fact that they are being silenced and picked off for the very same reasons that those who find themselves on the quote unquote American right of the situation would actually agree. I think you'd agree. And that's where some bullying falls apart, actually. And that's a good first thing, the 5 steps I'm talking about of handling bullying inside yourself. You can't always fix the bullying for the other person, but here's how you come upon it yourself. And the first one is that separation, realizing that people are not just one thing. The bully's not just the bully, the victim's not just the victim. But that's not victim blaming either in that situation, especially when we're talking kids or younger people or authority at work. Absolutely the person who is younger and smaller gets to go first. And there's the circle of screaming, as I call it. And if that means that you pop off and don't think this is the stream for you, then you're probably right. If you're closed mind enough that you wouldn't be open to helping people with bullying, then you're right. If you think you can't do it or can't change it or don't want it, then you're right. If you think that people shouldn't be treated equally, then you're right. You're not correct, but you're right, because you'll create the thing that you think is okay. And the golden rule says to do unto others. And if we're not following the part where we go, one day someone may treat us like that, we take care of ourselves first, put our own oxygen masks on first, but fighting back, yelling back, screaming back, saying they did it first, those are literal toddler techniques. So, one of the things I have been doing lately is relating how political moves, how industrial moves, how workplace moves are just the same as toddler techniques and little kid techniques for bullying or for losing your crap. And it's because people were never supported in learning how to have conversations. The vast majority of adults my age and a bit older and a bit younger were told to sit down, shut up, and listen and obey or do, and the metaphor that underlines the value that underlines our North American experience in a lot of places in the North American, like, sort of what I call the North American visual, like the thing you see on TV that seems to be all of North America. Of course, it's not. It's not even close to being the same all the places. As you can see, the values and ideas in Canadians are vastly different, even though we sort of sound like we're similar or might be, whatever. And then you switch over and you go, wow, the values of someone in a different state or a different thing or a different place. And that listening to each other and not assuming something and going, hey, are we actually a little bit different? Are we a little bit the same? Do we want to be taken care of next in our turn? And the parenting of the post-war situation was that a lot of people, I believe, came back from the war experiences, the so-called finest generation, as it was, and the decimation of men in the Second World War. We lost how many percent? Like, go look up the statistics. I don't have them on me, but I've seen them before. The statistics of the percentage of men that were lost in the German public, in the French public, in the British public, and then in the other allies, right? In America, in Canada. Canada fought as an ally, always has, and would again. And we gave up huge swaths of our men for that. We literally, as a child, the idea of going to cenotaphs, going and being respectful at remembrance services and things like that, also invades the Canadian zeitgeist. It's also part of the Canadian world that we would respect. We have our Remembrance Day, and it's still very, very important that we have, like Veterans Day, we have a Remembrance Day that remembers war. But Canada is also a place where we try to learn something from that. We learned and we remember and we strive to, that's why it's Remembrance Day on November 11th, because we try to strive for it not happening again. And the idea that we would be called into war or bullying or meanness or evil or whatever it is for the same reasons, because someone at the top was lying to people. They were making up a different truth. Well, then the allies are going to switch. And what makes me scared of the current situation is how much the playbook of the bullies in industry, in government, in school places, in workplaces is the exact same. And it's so much like, did we forget? And the um, the phrase that goes around On Remembrance Day, and I'm discussing it in light of Veterans Day and of why am I discussing this in March, right? Um, there are other things that we celebrate in March that are around the remembrance of war and the First World War, especially, and the plaques of men. My children go to a school that's pretty old, actually, even for Canada, and it literally is a plaque with the men that died from that school. And we are used to those plaques being in every location in most of Ontario, especially. And they're huge, lists from single schools, like a Cadus, 6 that at the time had boys that were 18 kind of thing at it, but not that many. It was a local neighborhood school. And there's the loss of 10 or 15 people. And the idea that if we don't catch the way bullies will lie to people so that they will fight for them. And recently, what I've been talking about with my bullying being aligned with government and industry and work and people yelling at you in parking lots is how much the mean girl in the movie, in the North American trope of she doesn't do her own dirty work. She sounds good on the surface, doesn't she? She sounds like she's just the cute, sweet, popular, I have everything together. And therefore, when I do harm, I do it right out in front because I'm just doing popular things and I'm just doing happy things and I'm just the prom queen. And the things I say just sound good for 1 second. That is a movie trope. Literally watch your own Hollywood movies, and you would actually see that that is the setup. That's the setup. And what is common about that mean girl leader? They are often the rich one. So they don't actually know the struggles of the working class kid who doesn't have fancy things and doesn't understand why you just don't wear nice clothes or just don't come to school early. And we've been talking a lot about the privilege of things, and people think that's a bad word. It's been taught that privilege means like you're calling me out for having something, that I like I'm a jerk about it or something. And I go, "No. Privilege is just the opposite of like negative privilege is just the opposite of positive privilege. It's the thing where you say, "Hey, I am really privileged to be your friend. I'm really privileged to have enough money to have a microphone and a good camera. I live in a great damn world." That was just accidentally. I was born in Canada and traveled the US and Canada and the North and Japan and so because I had privilege. And then negative privilege is just that little over thing where you go, and therefore I assume I'm a better person. No, I don't assume that I required that because I got it because I was better than other people. I assume I have that privilege by basically accident and that I should use it for good. And bullying comes from when you feel like you can't share your privilege. And it becomes this negative thing where people say, "Well, not all men." And I go, "Of course not. Of course it's not all men." You know why? Because the men have to be put down too. Because there will when the time comes that there's too many good men in the system, well, there's too many mean girl friends. And so I have been talking lately about henchmen, the idea that bullies always have henchmen. They always have the friends that do the dirty work for them in movies. And that is played out in schoolyards if you're young, and it's played out in politics right now, right on CNN. And we need to see that it's the same so that we can come to the simplest first step. And the first step is, do we have enough to share or not? And the metaphor that changes when we decide that we are working from a metaphor of I have enough to share. That's what privilege is for me. I am privileged to get to talk to you. I'm privileged enough to have the thing. And you know how I remember this one? The first step to working on bullying, to seeing the things we have in common. Is that we figure out that we are not fighting over slices of pie. That is what the mean girl wants you to think. That is what the billionaires want you to think, right? The mean people in the world who want more than their fair share. What is their metaphor? That there is not enough to share. You know why? Because then I get all of it. They have to hold that metaphor in their heads so that they can bully you. And they have been, there are bullies in the world who aren't invested for their whole lives. They're just sad and scared. And they have been taught that there isn't enough pie. And there's those who have lived that life so long that there is no person left in them that doesn't think there isn't not enough for everybody. And therefore I should take all of it. And that for me is where good and evil cross. That is when people go, what is good and evil? What's the thing? And I go, it is when we cross the line from saying, I'm struggling. I feel like there's not enough slices of pie, but I'm not going to take slices of pie from other people. I know that this is about sharing. I will use the ones I have, the richness and the luck and the hard work and the ability and the capabilities I have. But I won't forget that it is an accident of birth, an accident of work, an accident of time and place, that I have that capacity to do that. Oh, but I work hard. I work hard every single day of my life. I work harder than you. I will give you, if you write down what you do in a day, including everything you think through and everything you have to deal with to get all the stuff done, and you say, I produce this much. I get here, I do 8 hours of work, I do this, I drive, I think about my kids, I do whatever. I would bet anyone right now, $100, $1,000, that I do more than you. And yet it looks like I produce less because I have a greater capability. I have this luck and I have this good fortune and I have this support system that says I have money, time, energy to have a good world, to have a calm world outside there, where I was lucky I had a family that I could walk away from bullies and feel good about myself, that I had books on the shelf and clothes on my back. And so I could do things based on hard work. But I was not lucky with how much capacity I have. Capability, how many things can you produce? But how much maintenance does your assembly line, your world need? The first time I ever put on braces for my chronic genetic disability, which is similar to multiple sclerosis or ALS or Huntington's, it has a mobility thing, and it means that all of my joints will deteriorate. It is not progressive, i.e., it doesn't go faster, that I will die sooner, but it is degenerative. It will go down and down and down. It will just keep getting worse. And so the first time I put on those braces underneath my clothes and figuring out how to tie them, they're soft braces that have to be tied around. It took me an hour and a half to put on pants. I did not have pants privilege that day, did I? Have you ever woken up and not just put on your pants? Ever a broken leg? Had to think, oh God, wait, What do I wear? I don't have pants that fit this broken leg. What do I do with this cast? Just because you have the capability doesn't mean you have the capacity. And the first thing in your head that separates you from the bullies, whether or not they're choosing it, whether or not they're being sucked into it by the mean girl world, or they're the mean girl, the henchman, or the hanger-ons, or just the members of the school that don't stand up and say that it's bad. The people that get sucked into thinking it's cool or right to say, hey, I worked hard, I deserve more, or you should put away your cart, because obviously not putting your cart away. If you were strong enough to walk into the grocery store, then you are strong enough to put your cart away at the end. I get yelled at that about once a week, that I'm lazy, that I am a no good, that I have chosen not to, that I'm the one who's not thinking about other people or whatever. Wow. Did you miss the fact do you think that people who are disabled, that have an interior disability where their bodies and joints go, do you think they always get it perfect? Do you think we live in a world where they wake up in the morning and go, I know I can get through all of grocery shopping? Do you ever have a mistake? Do you ever have a day that you have heartburn? Do you ever have a day where you get sick or throw up? Oh, well, that only happens once in a while. It happens every day for me. And that is a privilege you have. And if you are willing to say, I have that privilege, I get out of wow, I'm sick like once a year. I take a day off of work about once a year. I go to school every day except for once. My attendance is perfect. Then you have a privilege. And that is not a bad thing. It's something you should revel in. You should go, wow, God damn, I'm lucky. And that means I can use my hard work. It is when you flip a switch, you hit that thing, that metaphor inside your head that takes your discomfort around it, the world around you, whoever told you, whatever thing said. And that means the people that don't do it aren't sharing. They don't deserve as much pie. They don't deserve to have those things. They don't deserve as much money as me because I work for 8 hours. And they don't. It's when you switch the privilege and say, I deserve that because I was granted more of it. But it's a gift. Health is a gift. It is not always something you did. And if you think that people who were given illnesses genetically, accidentally, situationally, asbestos, coal miners, and slave labor unite. Was it not hard work? That a good portion of our young men from the 40s were poisoned with Agent Orange, and they became very ill in their world as young farm men, strong as Laps. My father was the strongest, tallest, hard workest, kindest, nicest, and he was poisoned with Agent Orange. When he had Parkinson's and quadriplegia in his 50s and 60s, he was the age I was when he lost his legs. And he was a little bit older when he could no longer use his hands. Did you think he didn't work hard enough? When he was 18 and they strapped a canister of Agent Orange to his back, do you think that he didn't work hard enough? Or did you just get lucky? Those who use their privilege for good, those who make more pie, those who share and believe in sharing with others, come from the metaphor that we make more. by sharing time and energy and capacity and seeing the differences in people and realizing that capacity and capability are not the same thing. The amount of time you have is not the same for every person. The amount of energy you have is not the same for every person. It is not simply hard work that is standing between someone being able to run a marathon or not, right? If I asked you to run a marathon today, you could probably do it. Probably. Most people, a lot of people could like walk it, run it, throw up, get there if they had to under pressure, make it 20 miles, you know? Could you do it again tomorrow? Well, wait, you're not working hard enough. Why is the metaphor, why is the fear mongering of bullies, of mean people in industry, and of dictators in government that there isn't enough to share because they need you to believe that they deserve everything? And they say that you are the henchman that will also get the portion of everything that they have when they get there. But the mean girl never gets enough to share with the henchman. The dictator never says, "Oh, I have enough money, I'll share with the people doing my dirty work." The bully never says, "If I stand down and not hurt and insult this person, I'll get more." And if we think that is true, it becomes true. If we don't have enough to share, then it becomes true that there's nothing to share. I often watch videos about self-service restaurants in Asian countries, and where you can literally walk into a restaurant that has no people in it, just cameras just in case. But, cameras don't deter people who have a different metaphor. The metaphor there is that, hey, we can have these restaurants if we keep them clean, if we don't steal things, if we pay for our food. And they literally walk in, take food out of a freezer, put it in a microwave or whatever. So imagine if the 7-Eleven or something like it just didn't have a person there. You could just go and make yourself noodles or something. You could go make yourself a burger. You could microwave a burrito. Imagine a microwave burrito store where you just walk in, microwave a burrito, leave $2 in a tin and walk out. It'd never fly. It'd be destroyed the same day. Why? Because there isn't enough to share. If I don't take it, then someone else will. Because North America and our metaphors in the family are not the superpowers and the allies of the world anymore. We are losing that because the next generation was taught to shut up and do nothing, and they never learned that the reason we succeeded at being the allies in those wars, the reason why it was a just and sort of fair thing, was that young men traded their lives for the lives of Jewish people and disabled people and other people, Romani people. The list of people who were targeted because they were different. Why? hatred of those individuals specifically, or because if we get rid of them, we'll have all their stuff. And then if we get rid of the next circle of people, we'll have their stuff. It's stealing pieces of pie because there's not enough. And people who are in the inner circles think that at some point the bully is going to change and share with them, that you're happy living off the scraps of autocrats. I actually think that those who would call themselves right-wing, God-fearing, gun-toting Americans or Canadians, less gun-toting, but I know good farm kids in the prairies who would say that they align more with that conservative value. And I go, how is mine different? How is mine not the conservative value? How am I not saying, yeah, I think you should get to work hard, live well, be safe, and when your farm has a fire, the neighbors all pitch in. And when a foal is dying in birth, you can literally wake up the woman next door who will come and knows what to do. When the thunderstorms are coming and the hail is coming in, everyone helps make sure the wheat is stood up so it's not flattened and dies and rots. When we gather together in our public and sacred spaces, that we share food and everybody has a turn, and you don't have to know whether or not that everybody gets food. If somebody doesn't have food, you drop it off. Whether they need it because they're sick, whether they need it because they've had a babe, whether they need it because no reason at all. I always wonder, how did the mean girls, how did the bullies, how did the politicians pull one so far over on the people who actually share the values? I think those who are extremely conservative and those that are extremely liberal share those same values. And the middle is confused about how to do it because they're in the swirl. And there's a bunch of people who have been told that, no, you only get those things if you cast off a bunch of people. And I go, that's exactly the opposite of your values, isn't it? When did that become your values? The hardest step is the second one. Whether you're 10 years old and there's a bully, or whether you are at work, whether you are a politician, whether you are in charge of the entire government, if you don't have enough to share and you have to take what you want, at some point you're going to hurt somebody else by taking their stuff. And then you're going to have to throw that hurt back. When you feel sad or uncomfortable, when a bully doesn't get what they want in their head, they throw, I think of it as, I'm a farm girl, so I think of it as cow pats, but you could think of it as those little bags of dog poo, little dog crap bags with little tie. People leave everywhere. They don't clean up their own dog poo. Guess what? The hardest thing in the world is not to throw it on the ground and leave it there for other people. Because you just say, well, people are being mean to me. Why do I have to take care of them? Or I throw it at you, I feel better for a second, and then that person's justified at what? Throwing it back again? Or at somebody else? Someone younger? Someone more vulnerable? Because that's who we bully. Because it's easier. And eye for an eye makes the whole world blind. Who stops it? If you're being bullied, or if the world is bullying you, what's the hardest thing to do? To take that discomfort and to put it down. If someone throws their metaphoric dog crap bag at me and it lands in my chest and it hurts me, what is the hardest thing for me to do? Just put it down or put it on the ground, put it in the garbage, doing the best I can just to let it leave me. That is something that is taught to children in great families as regulation for emotional discomfort. That's the fancy term for it as a counselor. And we live in a world where the vast majority of adults were never taught. They were not given. It was stolen from them. Your human right. Your child right. To not have adults, older, wiser, so-called, throw crap at you because they couldn't handle their own discomfort. You were supposed to be. It is the mandate of humankind to be able to hold on to someone younger, smaller, who is losing it, who is sad, who is hurt, and go, I can share mine because I'll know I'll get something else from my community or people or back from you later. How sad is it that that's been broken? That we don't believe. And that the few people who are able to continue saying that over and over are tired. And often we are the first to go from this vocal stream, from speaking up, because we ourselves will burn out, or we're the ones with less time and energy because of a disability. The people who see it are usually the ones with the most trauma, the ones with PTSD, the ones that have been hurt, the ones who are bullied. And so we have to do something that is the hardest thing in the world. And that's be a cycle breaker. If you're being bullied and you don't want to be, then you are the hardest thing in the world and you are a cycle breaker. You do not throw it back. You cycle break. Do you know how hard that is? You know what the hardest part about being a cycle breaker is? You have to give to other people what you did not get. When you start to see it and you go, wow, I'm being bullied. I'm not getting that kind of kind language. You have to stand up and go, holy crud. I have to not hurt younger, smaller, more vulnerable people at the same time as I do not get that input. I have to find that input from my own fortitude, my own choice, my own intention, from my own learning, from my own want of building that. I have to build something out of nothing because you weren't given a solid foundation. And there are a few of us out there who are lucky enough. I am privileged. I am privileged enough to have been given that. And people ask me all the time, how do children who are raised with listening and intention and gentle responses and hearing their things, how do they not become the spoiled ones? Because they don't learn how to work hard and do what they're told and follow the rules. The answer is that logic is bass-ackwards. The one who was allowed to ripen in their own time becomes the most unspoiled fruit. Children that are allowed to be themselves, that are allowed to have adults regulate their emotions, who are given care and comfort and love, who are given understanding of their feelings, who are freaking spoiled with love, do not have their hard work. And their following of the rules broken and spoiled. The only thing that gets spoiled is their ability to not share, to think of other people as others who don't deserve it, because then I'll have more. There are a few of us out there who were granted the incredible privilege being hand raised, intentionally raised, gently raised. And as much as the world, the internet about 5 years ago was sick of boomers, I'm sick of Gen X. Those that are mean boys and mean girls at work, those who take more than they deserve and say, hey, you're the one that's lazy or inefficient. All those metaphors of the bullying that got in the 80s and 90s. Because the next generations, those mothers and fathers were working all the time. So those kids raised themselves, except for the ones who were fought for. And those families that fought to be cycle breakers, I will bet you any amount you want to pick that on the surface, their values were the same as those that looked more conservative. I confuse people because I believe in families that have more parents that can stay and work. I believe in ecological breastfeeding, human milk. I believe in farm fresh goods. I believe in land. But the metaphor is different. I believe in sharing it. I believe in striking out for my neighbor. I believe in giving everything I have for somebody else if it saves their life and saves us for the next winter. And that metaphor shift makes me alt-left instead of alt-right. I go, why? Why has the line become so divisive? Because the mean girls need you to be on the other side so that they can take our stuff. And you will believe that there's not enough to share, and only a few people break the cycle and say, there's enough to share, especially if I make more. The more I share, the more sharing there'll be. The more people I get through my discomfort of words and lifestyles and things that are strange, the more those people will take care of me. Do you really believe that if you become the mean girl or the henchman or the hanger-on, do you really believe that when everyone else is gone and all of the goods have been collected into the 1% or the 0.1% or the 0.1% or the 0.1%, do you really believe that they're going to loop in the hangers-on, or are they going to start insulting the hangers-on so that they can get that little bit more? And do you really think the henchmen are going to be looped in? Do you really think the mean girl, the world bully, do you really think they're going to share when every metaphor, every value says, I'm going to take it away from people? Do you think they won't take it away from you at the end? Do you think that if you believe that they're doing it for you and yet they're taking it away from others, what skill? What are you going to see? What's the change? What thing are they going to do that says, hey, but now you can have some? I'm sharing with you. How do you think that this is going to get to more stuff for you? When you have killed off all of the people who can't get formula, when you've killed off all of the children who are not getting their SNAP payments and food, and I don't mean USAID is a big distraction from the fact that they're doing it right there in your country, that American food for American children was cut. If they're okay with that now as bullies, as world bullies, why do you think that the bullies will change later? Why do you think they'll share with you later when they've never shared? How do you think? What is the mechanism by which they're going to give stuff to you? And if you have gone to the place where you just think you're going to be a sovereign citizen all by yourself, then start now. Stop getting income. Stop using schools. Stop buying and selling things. What? You can't just do the hard work and not take anything from anybody else? Then don't. Because if you think that someone shouldn't arrive at the door of a child somewhere else in the world that doesn't have food, then why do you think they'll arrive at your door and that you deserve that? And if you are a cycle breaker and you are fighting every single day in your head to say, I don't want that. I want to change the metaphor, even if I can't change the world, then that step inside your head doesn't mean you can change everything on the outside. It means that you can change yourself on the inside. I do not throw the hurt back. I put it down on the ground, and I tolerate the discomfort of that. You may have heard the saying, it's not that you are brave because you do not feel scared. It is that you are brave because you feel scared and you do it anyways. And those who are actually the best at marshaling their energy and their insistence, their privilege, and their lack of luck, those who are fighting chronic illness, disability. We may look weak on the surface, because of our capacity, but do not underestimate our capability when it comes to seeing the truth of how bullies work, of how the metaphor is broken, of how the people on the extreme sides of the issue agree with each other. And if you are a kid today or a grown adult whose inner child never, ever got anything, I want to say to you that it is more impressive that you are a cycle breaker, that you give to others what you did not get, than it is for me to give away the extra of what I was given so much of. My privilege is the metaphor of sharing. And I stood on the shoulders of giants and learned at the feet of a master. The adults in my life shared one unified thought. That we make more instead of fighting over pieces. And so I grew my entire life. I didn't have to break the cycle. It was already broken for me. And now my children don't have to break the cycle because the cycle is already broken for them. And that's why I don't shut up. I just rolled an hour exactly. Man, you can take the professor out of the classroom. You can't take the classroom out of the professor. The academic nerd. And by the way, I'm not one of those privileged professors who had tenure. I'm one of those working stiff professors that got laid off. I am now doing other work, thankfully. I'm very privileged to live in a world where I could transition and be safe. But not because of my capability or even my capacity, because of other people shared their capability and capacity with me until I was back. So I'm going to do the first 2 steps and I will be back on Friday. Tuesday and Friday, it's the goal, with a safer stream to talk about the next 3 steps for bullies, handling bullies, whether you're 10, 50, or 100, whether those bullies are personal or in charge of the government. We're going to look at how they're the same. And I think next week I'm going to break out little snips of the Mean Girls. I'm working on making them short enough for YouTube so that we can watch some snips of how the same techniques show up over and over and over again and why people protect themselves from being the cycle breaker. If you broke a cycle today or this week, I want to say how impressed I am. Even just a tiny one in your head, that there's enough to share. That's the first cycle to break. Next one's harder. Just because it's rare doesn't make it wrong. That'll be the third one. Just because someone's in charge doesn't mean they're correct. Just because they say something good doesn't mean they're not lying to you. Just because they're saying what you want to hear doesn't mean you're not being scammed. And I'm going to move on to my posting an ADHD video soon. That's coming out. And I'm hoping to do a reaction to I am not an anti-MLM channel, but man, there are some things I got to say a little bit about. So I've got a sub playlist on some anti-scam because I speak to specifically those that are disabled, those that know the idea of taking on privilege from someone. Taking on, I get more than my fair share. So I want to thank my viewers today, whether you popped in for 10 seconds or whether you popped in for the entire hour. If you have any requests for me, please feel free to reach out in comments or on my Google Forms or on Instagram with ideas and things you'd like to hear. I do go back and read the comments even much later, especially those that tag an idea. So if you say you'd like a topic idea or a video idea, okay? And I would like to thank my composers, Luke Culberson and where's my other? And Graham Leathers, who are the musicians that you hear on my channel. They're both two great Canadian composers, used by personal permission from them. Okay. And if you're having a hard day or a hard week, I don't mind sharing a little bit of the strength and energy I have. Doesn't mean I'm not having a hard day either. Doesn't mean I'm not having a hard week. But because someone shared with me, I have a little extra, and I have the trust that someone will share a little bit more with me. Let's build that. Everything I learned in kindergarten. Take turns, hold hands, and share. Thank you for joining me. I'll send you off with a gentle hug in case your bones hurt. And I want you to strive to find the truth. My name is Maria, and I am Little Miss Diagnosed. Talk to you soon.